I hate the modern concept of them. I see no benefit to summoning succubi beyond escapism at best and legit psychosis at worst. As people claim anyone online who criticizes a succubi as a Christian, I'm here to say I'm not. I'm not on a moral crusade to stop people from having fun. I just think there are better ways of doing it than summoning a demon that blatantly wants to harm you. Now, if you're one of those people who believes succubi are not malicious entities that want to take your vitality, even though it has been defined as such for thousands of years by millions of people across multiple cultures consistently, then please click off this video because it might offend you. I loathe the fact that succubus threads are 100 times more popular than the ones about advanced spiritual practices like Dantian practice, meditation trances, pranayama, etc. I asked people in the succubus threads why they want to summon one, and I got basically two answers that weren't just trolling insults. One, because they're hot. Two, because they're hot and modern women are bad. Seriously, I didn't even hear something mildly reasonable like because I'm lonely and that helps me cope. I can't believe their motivation is brain dead, bottom of the barrel hedonism on par with porn addiction. Except for it's worse because porn is easier to look up than summoning a demon. I see it as mental laziness. Animals are controlled by impulse, and apparently succubus summoners too. Look, if you don't metaphorically steer your own ship, who does? A succubus? Actually, that would explain some things. Why not summon a mermaid, water nymph, selkie, angel, goddess, dryad, valkyrie, yakshini, melusine, undine, fairy, an elemental, an elf, a gandharva, a swan maiden, an aristiad, a sprite, a palladian, or literally anything other than a demon that wants to steal your vitality? I guarantee it's because of laziness. It's like reaching below the lowest hanging fruit and grabbing the ones in the ground because it's easier to let gravity pull you down than having to pick one off a branch. It's the same reason everyone and their brother has tried to appropriate ancient Egypt and not something like Göbekli Tepe. I absolutely hate the fact the succubus community treats the subject of succubi in a consumerist way. What I mean is, they pick and choose what to believe about succubi and the rules of how to summon one, like they're shopping for Funko Pop. For example, they will literally argue that succubus are not demons that take your energy, but something more like a manic pixie dream girl. They don't have the traits of a succubus, then what the hell are they? An anime harem wish fulfillment? Succubi are supposed to be sentient beings with their own will and ingrained set of behaviors, which includes stealing people's vitality against their will. So interacting with them should have some sort of consistency to it, other than, succubus are whatever I think they are. That mentality is not magical or wondrous or divine, it's just relativism. It's a product to consume, like a video game. In fact, they'll use video game lingo. And I'm not talking about metaphors like leveling up. I mean straight up claiming succubi have video game features such as having astral plane item shops. By the way, there are no banks and no currency in the astral plane. Sorry to break it to you. My suspicion is that most of the succubus summoners are just daydreaming or created a tulpa, although a handful seem to have legitimately made contact with one, in that the way they describe it matches descriptions in ancient lore and modern research on people who have claimed to have interacted with one. They're consistent to what I think are real succubi encounters, such as obvious tactile hallucinations, feeling exhausted, nightmarish terror. I don't think the ones where the succubus is cradling the guy's head and gently whispering in his ear that everything will be okay are real. Alright, time to grade succubi phenomenon by my arbitrary parameters. Is it a deep or wise subject? Succubus summoners by their own admission do this stuff purely for sexual titillation. I believe this concept of succubi can motivate short-term creativity, like making a drawing of one, or intellectual curiosity. I just don't think it's very deep. Maybe if you're into Jungian archetypes or really into exploring the depths of the occult, you can squeeze out some deeper meaning, but I guarantee most people summoning these things aren't trying to go deep into these entities. Does it have a long tradition and pedigree? Yes. It's a really old concept, possibly thousands of years old, with consistent lore across multiple cultures that independently arose in separate places. To me, that gives credence to the idea that these aren't just ideas made up by some guy. Lots of mystics and academics have written on the subject in length, and even the medical community has gotten in on it. Succubi are the superstars of the mythological canon, up there with mermaids and fairies, although they're more like the scandal-ridden, drug-addled rock star. How do people behave who are into it? Surprisingly, it's not full of brooding, angsty edgelords, mostly. It's more like a smaller gacha gaming community in that people are there for obvious sexual reasons, but they also are together to validate and share stories and art and so forth. But like a small gacha gaming community, it's not so big that there are warring factions infighting in politics. And it's not a straight-up narcissistic power fantasy like Reddit witches, thank God. For the most part, they seem to just want to have fun, which is understandable, until they inevitably start claiming that they are superior to normal people, and it becomes less forgivable. Does it improve the quality of your life? Not really. At best, it's entertainment, and at worst, it's a terrifying experience for some. The enjoyment people get out of it seems to be at the level of looking up hentai, meaning it won't elevate them past the trifles of mundane life, but it can distract them temporarily. Again, my argument against it is there are better and more efficient forms of escapism. One odd thing is that people on the forums seem to think succubi make great spies, and this gives them exceptional value, except no one gave me any examples, or even described what that entails. Does it get you closer to the highest goal, source, godhood, oneness, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it? Maybe hypothetically it can indirectly motivate a person to meditate or make their life more playful and carefree, but given my interaction with the community online, I doubt it. If anything, it seems to make things worse, like a legitimate vice. Now, the main defense online seems to be, well, at least it's not as bad as going to a prostitute. Seriously, I'm not making that up. Beyond how ridiculous that is for a justification, there are just more efficient ways to satisfy lust, like porn. Does it help you become a better person? Now, you can argue about getting in touch with your shadow side and how harmless people aren't actually good and they're just harmless and weak, but this is not that. This is just hedonic pleasure seeking. Okay, so here's my obligatory "there's nothing wrong with pleasure seeking" statement. Let me say this again. There are better ways of doing it. Does it give you a skill you can master, possibly. Summoning one through ceremonial magic is probably something you can get better at, done properly, but I don't see it as a top tier skill that even a nihilist would have to acknowledge, like Tumo or anything. Does it help you cope with hard times or setbacks? Kind of. What I mean is they do use it to overcome day-to-day insecurities and neuroses, like the example of the guy getting his head patted is a good example. Although none of them seem to have gone into summoning succubi for those reasons, nor do they cultivate that. I doubt it could sustain someone through serious hard setbacks, nor do I think it will make someone a figurative rock that others can rely on during hard times, like more meaningful practices can do. Alright, so the overall grade I give Succubus summoning is a C-. Succubus summoning is mid-tier. It's definitely an interesting subject in the short term, and I can see how it's enjoyable to some people, but it's not truly inspiring or deep. If succubi are what inspire you, more power to you. Again, I'm not trying to stop anybody. My real issue is with the online fandom. I don't know why there seems to be this stagnant mentality of being as vague, bland, and meaningless as possible. I mean, you can look at archives and see that they're exactly in the same position they were 12 years ago, talking about the exact same thing, saying the exact same things. It's like a time warp where nothing changed. I mean, even gotcha threads will change what they talk about. And I'm not just talking about updates, but maybe they want comfort and familiarity. Maybe that's what it's ultimately about. But why should you seek comfort with the demon? Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching.